This screencast is an introduction to the Classroom Performance System, remotes, and CPS software so you can use them in the classroom. So from the beginning, just open up CPS. It is a large program, so it takes a few minutes for it to actually open. So get it going before class starts. I'll walk you through from the beginning how to set up a new class and add students so that when your classes come in, you can actually have a remote assigned to each student, and it will save any data that is taken to that student's name, and you can print out reports and show them what they missed and what they can work on for the test depending on what you're using the software for. So from the Prepare tab, there are three tabs: Prepare, Engage, and Report. So from the Prepare tab, go into Classes and Students. Now I already have my classes set up, but I'll show you how to add a new one. So there's this plus sign here. That is where you add a new class. K-12. And just name it whatever the class's name is. So you could do Violet 1. Next. And you'll probably want to make more classes. You can do this all at once right now, but since we're not going to add any more, I'll just click that off and done. So we have an empty class here, so we want to add a new student. So click the new again, and instead of class, obviously click on student. And all you're doing here is adding their names, first name, last name, and you can add the entire class at one time pretty quickly. I did that by using a spreadsheet, but whatever you want to use for your students' names is fine. So just as an example, I'll throw a few students in here. Student. Press the tab key to go over to last name, and then when you're done there, press enter. I'm just going to add 5 students for now. Okay, so right next to it you see the pad IDs. These are the actual remotes that they're assigned to. And if you have more students than you have remotes, and say you have some students that are absent, so you want to assign a certain one to a certain student, you can always change what pad is assigned to them just by erasing the number. And it'll just swap the two, so that now student E doesn't have pad 5 anymore, it has pad 2. Sometimes that's helpful. You could change IDs, gender, and ethnicity if you'd like to. It's not really helpful for what I'm doing, so I just leave those as the default settings. Okay, the next thing that you probably want to do is set up a lesson or a new CPS database. So you do that under the Prepare, Lessons and Assessments tab. Same thing with this classes. You go to new lesson, and you want to name it. So we'll name this one Biology Review. And you can add a test onto this database if you'd like to. I think I have one on my desktop. I guess I don't. This is like a picture that you want associated with this particular database. So I'll just choose any picture. It doesn't really matter. It's not important for the actual question set, but it can be there and used later. So there's a couple things that you could do. You could import a CPS database that you already made, say from ExamView, you could export this, you could add files. So for example, if I want to add the ExamView file that was already made, I go to Add File. I'm just going to add the sample one here. And this ExamView file actually saved these as real questions. These are true and false questions, and then multiple choice questions, so that I could actually use this as my CPS lesson. I don't have to put any questions in at all because it was already made. So if you were using ExamView, you would have needed to save your file as an ExamView file, like you would normally, a TST I think it is, and you can import it pretty easily. That's the best way to do it. But if you do want to add individual questions separately, like you want to change them from the test, you can do that as well. Make sure you click down your biology review. You want to add a new question. And then you just type in the content box. Your options, and check the one that you want to be the correct answer. I'm not sure if that's actually the definition, but we're going to say it is. And make sure you spell everything right, because they will call you out on it. You could change the fonts if you'd like to. It always defaults to Comic Sans, but whatever you want to actually use. So you can change it to Arial or whatever, and the size and the color. And then if you want to add more questions, there's a save and next function, which is pretty helpful, or you can just save.
Oh, I don't want to do this.
If you want to change the format of the question from multiple choice with 5 options to multiple choice with 2, you can. You can do short answer, you can do essays, numeric, true and false, yes or no. So those are total, those are changes that you need to make based on whatever assessment you're doing for your class. So I'm just going to close out. I didn't really change this, I'm just going to hit no. And our question's already set up there. So for instance, if you want to set this up as a question you ask your students, you go to Engage. Click on the lesson that it is. You have to click on the lesson. And then you click Engage. You can change the classes depending on which one you are doing this for. So you got to make sure that your USB receiver input is plugged in, otherwise it won't recognize any of the remotes. I just bypassed that for uses of making the screencast. So the question comes up here, and the students have the option of choosing any of the options you have there, A, B, C, or D. And then once they respond, their little box lights up in dark blue. And when the question is completed, when everybody's responded, you want to make sure that all of them are lighted in dark blue, or changed to dark blue, but it'll give them the correct option So if they are doing a study guide that's on paper, they can change the answer so they know what the exact answer is for studying purposes. There's some other cool features here on the regular CPS. You can call on a student verbally or randomly using this right here. And if you want to change it, just keep clicking until you find a student that you want. If you have a verbal follow-up question, that's pretty helpful, I think. There's some preferences that you might want to mess around with. Under Teacher Managed, it will change some of the views that the students see. So I always have it clicked on to show the clickers that have responded. That makes it dark blue. It keeps a running total of the cumulative percent for the whole class. Answer distribution, which is, it would have changed how many students responded to each response. That's kind of helpful. Percent correct, correct answer. Sometimes auto start the timer is helpful depending on how you're running your lesson. And showing the charting, it'll pull up a bar graph to show distribution of answers. Change the timer length. I think that's important. Usually mine are 30 to 45 seconds. Any more time than that is really just wasteful, I think. The students get off task. You can set it so it moves to the next question as soon as the time is up. I don't like that because then you can't review with them if some people were incorrect. So I always click that off. That's totally up to you. On the next tab, Feedback Grid. This is how long the feedback shows up. I don't really change that. That's the default. I haven't changed anything in there. This is for team activities, so this doesn't apply to this activity. The Receiver tab is sometimes helpful. There's some things you can do in this, which if you don't want to, I would just leave alone. This is always helpful. It'll power off the clickers once you close CPS, which to save battery power you want to do, because the students will not turn them off and the batteries will die and you won't be able to use them all day. So make sure that you do have it clicked on power off the RF clickers on program exit. Make sure that's checked. That's pretty much it on the preferences. So I'm going to close out. Another good function for this at the beginning of class is to take attendance using the remotes, which I've already showed them how to do. So they'll know how to do that. They just respond by clicking A and enter. But it shows what number remote they have and their name. So student A would have number 1, and make sure they do take the correct one. Otherwise, the reports that you generate from CPS would be incorrect. So hit start, and once they sign in with the remote, it'll turn dark blue. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is the report tab, which is very helpful. I want to show you a report from a previous lesson that I've done with my students so you can see how certain reports are helpful. So I'm going to use the review demo that we did in our little session on Thursday. So I click on that. The class session title was review demo. The class was BNT facilitators, and it gives you the date and time. So what you want to do once you've clicked on that is hit generate. And you can choose only certain students. So if you have a student that wants to have their entire print off, you can pick just one. So I'll choose myself. And if you want the percent, so you know what their grade is, instructor summary is the one you want. Hit preview, and it shows me that I had attempted 3 questions, I got all 3 correct, and my score was 100%. So if you want to just enter grades in, you can do it that way. But if you want real data for stuff they got wrong, questions that they answered incorrectly, you can click incorrect answers. Since there weren't any incorrect answers, it's just going to say there were none. But it would list all the ones that got wrong with their response and the correct answer, which can be helpful. What I would do in this case, I would print it to a PDF. and then I would email it to that person so that they can study off of it. So there are all kinds of reports that you can use. I haven't gone through all of them, but I would just click around in there and see what's helpful to you. The last thing I want to show you is how to build a test from exam view and then actually put it into CPS. So open up exam view, test generator. You want to create a new test from scratch. Name it. And then whatever questions you want to do, you click on question, new, put a few different ones in here. And then save the file, save as, name it. Okay, now I would just close exam view, open up CPS. And you want to click on the lesson that it goes under, add file, and now our test is here. So from there you would just engage it as a normal lesson. And now we're ready to show off the questions that we made with exam view. And here they are. Okay, pretty simple. I think that's where we're going to end. If you have any questions, let me know and I can maybe develop a new screencast that answers those questions specifically.